Hi everyone, it's Nigel here, now with my signed portrait of Barry Norman that I found in my parents' loft the other week, looking over me. It's my turn to continue the Film Club at Home chain. Last time, Wayne picked Play It Again, Sam, a film that riffs on Casablanca. My pick is very different in tone, but also references another movie. It's this film, Kumiko the Treasure Hunter. You might be able to read that Werner Herzog called it a beautiful, deep and touching film. More on him later. It's about a Japanese woman who believes the claim at the start of the Coen brothers' classic Fargo that this is a true story. After wearing out her VHS tape, watching the scene where Steve Buscemi hides the ransom money in the snow, she travels to Minnesota in an attempt to find this loot for herself. Kumiko the Treasure Hunter is a fairly recent film. It was released here in 2015. And I'm a big fan of these sorts of low-key American indie movies. As well as the obvious influence of the Coen brothers, there's definitely an element of Jim Jarmusch here, particularly Stranger Than Paradise and Mystery Train. And you might also notice that one of the exec producers is Alexander Payne, who directed Nebraska and Election. And like those films, this is very good on the sort of specific details of place, both in Japan and in the US. The story is inspired by an urban myth you might recall surfaced in the press in the early 2000s. In November 2001, Takako Kanishi, a Tokyo office worker in her late 20s, was found dead in a field in Minnesota. And thanks to a misunderstanding by the local police, it was reported that Kanishi died looking for the fictional briefcase full of dollars from Fargo. The truth was more prosaic, and on our website I've linked to a short film and an article from 2003 that tells the real story, so if you're intrigued, do look at those. But like Fargo, Kumiko was made by two brothers, David and Nathan Zellner, who latched on to the Takako Kanisho Fargo story before it was debunked. And in an interview, David Zellner explained, "We started coming up with a backstory about what would lead someone to this point. And over time, more information emerged as to the real case, some of it contradictory, which we thought at first was a problem, but then we started to like that too. That there were all these different versions of the truth, so many layers and blurred lines between truth and fiction. What interested us the most was the quest element, the antiquated notion of a treasure hunt that no one goes on anymore, the going to uncharted land sort of thing." We're introduced to the character of Kumiko, who's brilliantly played by Rinko Kikuchi in Tokyo, who, like her real-life counterpart, works an office job that she hates. But also a note to those of you who like cute animals in films, her only friend appears to be her pet rabbit Bunzo. At one point, she tells someone she's a treasure hunter, like a Spanish conquistador, and the film's title echoes Werner Herzog film Aguirre, The Wrath of God. Yet when the story moves to the frozen wastes of Minnesota, the film's much more resonant of another Herzog film that we've shown at Film Club, Strozek. Strozek is my favourite Herzog movie, and if you've not seen it, you really must. David Zellner has said that Kumiko's hairstyle was partly inspired by Bruno S's distinctive mop in Strozek, and just like Strozek, Kumiko is a foreigner in a bleak Midwest landscape who's in search of some sort of American dream. Both films also share a melancholy tone that I really like. That's partly evoked here by the cinematography by Sean Porter and the music by an Austin-based group called The Octopus Project. Kumiko the Treasure Hunter is very much a cult movie, I think, that people either really respond to or who don't get on with at all. In his 4-star review in The Observer, Jonathan Romney called the film quietly magnificent. But a few days before in The Guardian, Peter Bradshaw gave it 1 star and described it as a tiresome, shaggy quest. Which makes me sad, actually, because not only do I personally disagree with Peter Bradshaw here, but I'm sure some of you might not, which would have meant we'd have had a good chat after the film if we'd have been able to watch it together in the Lord Palmerston. One day we will be doing that again in person, I am sure. Anyway, I'm sure you will all have very different views on the character of Kumiko too, so do please get in touch after you've seen it and let us know what you think. Hopefully you'll be in the camp who like the film as much as I do. Very well.